You know what I hate about our profession sometimes is when we're working with someone and they're retiring and they have a hard time spending money in retirement. Like overdoing it, like, oh, I just can't. I don't want to pull that much money out of my portfolio. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, let's think about maybe why. Like, why does that happen? And people that are 60, 65 years old, a lot of them started working when they were 14 or 15 years old. So you're looking at 40 or 50 years of working, of earning a paycheck, of collecting income, and all of a sudden that's gone. So we look at it a little bit historically as maybe their parents went through the Great Depression, or maybe they saw their grandparents do that. So a lot of it, I think, is the way they were brought up. And maybe they didn't have much, and then they've built wealth over time. So I think it's one of the hardest things that I've seen people or clients of ours or family members do is transition from working into retirement and actually living off of the income that they've saved for years and years.
You and I didn't grow up with an immense amount of money, right? But for whatever reason, we don't necessarily approach finance with a strictly conservative type of mentality, right? I mean, we're not big spenders, I don't think, but it's not something that you made the comment about, like the Great Depression. There's an emotionality to that, right? I mean, if you grew up with parents that were conditioned and afraid of like the government, or the financial world failing,
Right.
that's significant.
Yeah, that fear of running out of money. I would say that's someone's number one fear as they enter into retirement is what type of lifestyle can they have and what can they afford? And is it going to last their lifetime?
And what can take it away from you?
Correct.
Maybe
Great
that's
questions.
maybe that's the fear that we don't have. Like in our, what is the difference? Is it a level of transparency now? Because the technology is such where, hey, you can log in today and see all the money in the bank. Before that, you had to get out of your house and walk to the bank, and talk to a teller to find out what your money was doing, or a stockbroker or someone.
Right.
I wonder if that's a part of it.
Yeah, I bet that does have a piece of it. I mean, you think about even the mail. I mean, how many people wait and see a quarterly statement or a monthly statement come in the mail and they're like, okay, we're doing okay, or hey, it was a bad quarter.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think it's just a different generation. We have access to so much information in real time that part of it is comforting to knowing that, okay, this is how things are going. And the other part of it is I'm looking at it every day and I'm seeing the ups and downs of the markets.
So when you're meeting with a client, how do you help them balance their anxiety if they're a person that is like that?
Yeah, great question. And like we do with all of our clients, I think it comes down to planning, right? And setting that expectations that, number one, this is what you need to have to afford to retire. And we're going to get there, right? So if it's someone that's planning and what we would call the accumulation stage, we tell them exactly how much money they need to have to accumulate in order to live the lifestyle that they want. And if they're in a distribution phase, we flip it and say, okay, this is how much money you are able to accumulate. Now, based on how much money you've saved, this is what you can live off of. So I think a lot of it is setting that expectation of, hey, the markets are going to go up and down. We expect that. We know that, right? We know that there is going to be a pullback, not once, but multiple times during your retirement. And we also know that we're going to ride it out. We know how much money you can spend, and we plan for that.
Yeah.
Trying to soften the fears and anxieties that might be coming by saying it is coming, and we have a plan for what we're going to do when it does happen.
Yeah. It's interesting. Connecting it to something emotional, right, is something that I try. It's more of an right. It's more of an art than a science, right? Is that connecting this nest egg, to use a buzzword, a nest egg, this accumulation of money that you've worked hard over your lifetime to create. And again, it can't just be a dollar amount that goes up and down, right? It has to be something that's affording you to do certain things in your life that is tremendously important and fulfilling to you, right? And so we try, I know you do as well, is we try to really hone in on a conversation about, all right, well, what are the things that you really want to accomplish? What are the things that are most important to you and your family? to accomplish, and how does money connect with that? Taking it away, like you were saying a moment ago, taking it away from the ups and downs of the daily economy, I think is crucial, right? Yeah.
I think specifically about a few clients that someone that we used to work with a long time ago would say to us in a lot of client meetings, it's, you're the youngest and the healthiest you're ever going to be. Spend the money that you've saved in a fashion that makes sense. And I can't tell you, maybe you have a few examples here of people that are sacrificing these prime age. Maybe they just retired, right? And they're transitioning into retire. Maybe they're canceling a family vacation. Or they're not doing something with their extended family because they're afraid of spending the money, that you and I look at them and say, it's okay. You can spend XYZ amount of money and you are still going to have a successful retirement.
Yeah.
So for us, I sit in meetings, or for me, I sit in meetings a lot of times, and I look at a client and I say, take the vacation. And they have a really hard time accepting that. And some people say, great, we're going to go do it. But many of them say, well, we're going to pause on it for right now because we might have this other expense.
Yeah, I think certainly we see both sides of the spectrum, right? I mean, I can think of one client in particular. This is going back about 5 or 7 years when we took her on, and she was really clear when she retired. She's like, I'm done, I'm good. And she came to us, she's like, I really just want to have an idea of what can I comfortably spend where I'm not going to run out of money, because one of the most important things to me, I've got a handful of grandkids. I want to travel with them. I want to experience different places around the world with them while I still can. And that's what you just said, right? It's like being able to enjoy your money while you can. And unfortunately, we see the other side of that too, right? Is that you were alluding to that as well? It's a level of reluctance to dig into this, because this nest egg is security. But then what good is security if by the time that you're using it, you can't really, right? And that's tough. And I think it's a big, I think one of the things that's overlooked in terms of the role of a financial advisor is helping you connect the dots there in terms of, hey, what can my money do for me?
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about the media. I think the news doesn't help with this either, because we're also at a generation of retirees. So let's just say 60 plus that maybe the job that they worked at for 20, 30, 40 years no longer had a pension.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of the pressure of retirement now is put back on the individual saver. How much money can you put away every single year? Are you getting a company match? What are we doing? And then you turn on the media and the news and they say, oh, Social Security might not be there anymore. Right. So there's the fear of my only guaranteed income in life, potentially Social Security, because they no longer have a pension, that's what they're relying on to live off of, or at least a portion of what they're relying on.
Yeah.
How do you handle those conversations?
Well, I think the news, like you said, the news media doesn't help, right? I mean, how many stories have you seen where, hey, grandmother retires and takes her grandkids on all these wonderful vacations? What do we see? We see grandmother about to retire, but market goes through downswing, and doesn't have enough income, which all is blown out of proportion, right?
Sure.
Sensationalized. But that's what we see. So one of the big things is, demystifying that the messages that they're actually seeing from the media out there is that, no, this is actually not how it works. The retirement equation is pretty simple, right? You establish a set percentage of the money that you've accumulated to be able to pull out successfully over time, so that you do not run out of money. Your money outlives you, and versus the other way around, which is a failed financial plan. So having the conversations about what you can actually pull out of your accounts on a regular basis, so you establish a level of comfort knowing that, hey, all right, Ben and Jim sat with me, we went through the calculations, I know I can pull this money out, and we're really comfortable knowing that I've got all the things in place so that I'm not going to run out of money.
Yeah, I think that's great. It comes down to planning. Comes down to setting expectations.
Yeah.
And when we think about that planning and we look at all of the different types of plans and situations that we run through, and going back to maybe the media and some of the fears that they put, positive or negatively, into Social Security, how do you plan for Social Security when we're looking at how much income someone is going to be drawing off their portfolio, and where does that fit in that bucket?
Yeah. That's a debate, right? That's something that always comes up when the Social Security conversation comes up. It's always, well, I heard that it's not going to be there for us or not. One of the things that we do quite a bit of is just eliminate it from the conversation initially. It's like, what can I then, if social, which by the way, we do not believe that. It's more of a political football than anything, going back and forth in terms of will it be there, will it not be there. It is a safety net for a large amount of our population. The main thing that we do is to assume that's not. Right? And so that way we said, all right, let's pretend for a moment that you had to live solely off of the income from your portfolio and nothing else. What does that look like? Is it reasonable to be able to accomplish a successful and comfortable retirement without Social Security being in place? All right, now let's work Social Security back into the equation. What does that look like? So it's a conversation more than anything. It's to look at things in a reasonable manner that says, all right, is this reasonable to expect Social Security is not going to be there? And if it wasn't, hypothetically, how would that really impact you? Because it does having Social Security fully create a wondrous retirement for anyone? I don't think so. Having it there is certainly a nice resource, and for certainly the people that need it. I don't think there's any evidence out there that points towards it not being there.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of the planning that we're doing is we're looking at Social Security as a supplement to the income that they're getting provided by their own savings that helps support what they're trying to do. And I think you said it great, is we plan as if it's not going to be there. Yes, it's going to be there, but let's plan and see what your retirement looks like without it.
Kind of a worst case scenario picture, right?
Right, and then obviously when we plug in what Social Security benefits are looking like, it only enhances maybe what you can do for your family vacations or some of the extra things that you might be living off of. And that's the way that we would want to plan. That's the way we do plan for that.
So speaking about planning, because it's come up a few times, so I think people get the idea that planning is pretty important to your long-term future. Tell me how the goals planning statement framework that we've established here over the last number of years at Beck Bode, how does that fit into the equation?
I think that's a starting point, right? I mean, it does a couple of things for us. Number one, it sets the expectation of, well, how much money can I live off of? In other words, I've accumulated my portfolio, talking about the distribution for a retiree. I've accumulated this much wealth, right? A safe number to take out, whether it's 4.5%, in other words, to not dip into principal and make sure that money lasts your lifetime, is going to lead us into how much money they can take out in distributions and live off of. What else it does really two other things. It puts I always like to call it a contingency fund together for our clients. So that not if, but when the market goes sideways, there's money that we're going to draw off of so that we're not taking it out of the investments. It's in a separate fund. And it sets the expectation of what are we going to do as advisors, and what are we going to recommend to you do when the market goes sideways, and how you're going to take out distributions going into the future, and telling our clients that the market is going to be volatile. It is going to have ups and downs over the next 20, 30, 40 years of retirement.
Yeah. So when we're addressing those particular conversations that we were talking about before, with those folks that are going into retirement perhaps a little reluctantly in terms of taking money out, that's what you're alluding to.
Sure.
That conversation about the ups and downs.
Yeah, and I think that's the best thing we can do is prepare clients for it. And not that I ever want to tell a client when something potentially negative happens, I don't want to look at them and say, I told you so.
Yeah.
Right? That's not what we're trying to do, but I think any good plan incorporates the reality of what we expect the market's going to do.
Right?
That's what we're trying to accomplish. So can you think of some of the plans that we've done over the years? And specifically talk maybe about someone who you've experienced transition really, really successfully into that retirement, into living off their own income and really taking advantage of maybe their health, the assets they've accumulated, and what they've been doing over those years.
Yeah. That's the great part of our job, right? Is that we are counseling people not only how to get to retirement, but then how to transition successfully, right? And it's a great part of our job when we have folks, which I can think of a handful, but one in particular that, you know, both professionals retiring and immediately thinking about, okay, where are we going to spend our time that's going to bring the family together? So one of the things that they did is they sold their primary residence and they moved to the coast and into a home where all their family can meet at regular intervals in a meeting place, like in holidays and things of that nature. So they're engaging with their children, they're traveling, you can tell, right, when when you're in a meeting with somebody where you know, we're reviewing the portfolio and we're talking about some of the things that they're doing, and you can tell when you know, just by the conversation alone, somebody that's embracing this period that we call retirement,
Right.
versus and we see this unfortunately as well, is that when folks don't go into retirement with a plan of some sort, and they go in rather reluctantly, and they don't do the things that they could be doing that would, I believe, would make them happy, you actually start to see their health decline a lot quicker than you would, right? And I think there's really something to that. I think there's something to anxiety and stress around money that can really have a really bad impact on your health. And if you don't have a plan with what you want to do, something fulfilling, you know, forget about the money for a second, just in terms of activities.
Right.
You have a routine, right? You know, to a certain extent, you're working your entire life to get to this point, and then you shut it off with no plan. So sure, the money can provide the basic living expenses and probably much, much more, but you're only utilizing it for the basic living expenses. Then, you know, the question is, you know, how does your family faring? You know, with you not being active in retirement. You know, how does that impact relationships with your grandkids and such? You know, unfortunately, we have instances where people don't go into retirement with a plan on how to really enjoy their money, and more often than not, it's a scenario where their health declines faster than somebody that is embracing the retirement lifestyle.
Yeah. It's a hard transition, and
Difficult.
I think one of the things that I like to talk about and ask a pre-retiree is, what are your hobbies? What are you planning to do? Forget about money. If money wasn't the issue, your finances weren't an issue, what would you do in retirement? And then I think part of our responsibility to our clients is to help them transition to that type of lifestyle the best we can based on the assets that they have, and trying to help them fulfill this transition as much as possible.
Yeah.
But the alternative to that of living in fear and afraid to spend money or afraid to do what they reasonably could be doing financially, I agree with you. It deteriorates the health, the mental health, the physical health, and they just don't seem as excited about what could be the best times of their life.
And you know, you and I are in our mid-40s, so we have children that constantly need our time, right? We have parents that sometimes need our time as well. And you know, we look at the younger generation and we see, oh wow, they have all the time in the world to do whatever the hell they want. And now you talk about that transition, which is difficult. Now you go from if you're in the mid-40s, the next 15 years of your life working and so on and so forth, but then you retire and you have time.
Yeah.
And being prepared to how to spend that time and spend it in the way is not something you just make a decision on a whim, right?
Right. It's a plan.
Yeah.
Right. And I think about my life and now having kids. It's like the older my kids have gotten, the faster life has gone by. Time just seems to be flying by. And what I've seen with the retirees, it kind of transitions to, well, life slows down a lot, especially if you don't have a plan of what you're going to do on a regular basis. And the next thing you know is our clients start talking about, well, I can't come meet with you on Tuesday because I have 3 doctor's appointments. Or they're filling their time with things that are just not healthy activities.
Yeah. So maybe we can end today with, you know, you asked me the question, I'll ask you the question back. Let's focus on the positive. Can you give me a story of someone that you or I have, or we've worked with, that really went into retirement embracing, you know, that lifestyle and what they've what they've saved so much to accomplish.
Yeah, I love the idea that someone hits a certain age and they've already had a plan of what age they want to retire on, not necessarily based on their health or what job they have. It's like, well, I want to save enough money to retire at 62 or 65. And I've seen multiple times where someone hits that number and the joy that they have that says, hey, we've accomplished this. Like, it's a huge sense of accomplishment to be able to say, I'm going to afford to retire.
Yeah.
And they make that transition with excitement, with confidence because of a plan, because they hit whatever that asset goal that they had to do. And they hit the ground running in retirement. Right? I think what I have seen is that first couple of months, that transition might be home projects or just getting used to not working. And then going 6 months after that or a year after that, all of a sudden, a lot of people get the travel bug.
Yeah.
Or I find they're filling their time with babysitting grandkids and spending more time with their family. And it's about how they use that time that I think matters most. If you think that you want to start a garden, awesome. Go do it. Take the time to go do it, but have a plan of what that transition is going to go to. Most people that I have found that actually have a plan of hobbies and activities that they want to do, especially early on, have had the most successful transition into retirement.
Are you foreshadowing personally?
Me?
Do you have a little bit of a green thumb, Jim?
No.
No? You're not going to
I
garden?
can't even keep my grass green.
Maybe a little fresh basil from the garden? No? Nothing? Okay. All right. Well, I think the main idea from this talk today is spend all your money as soon as possible.
Go get it.
Yeah, go get it and enjoy retirement. No, in all seriousness, I mean, it's worthwhile to have these conversations, right? About, we talk, in finance a lot about building a plan to get you there, but perhaps a plan to how you're going to operate once you have all this time.
Yeah.
And what are the things that are going to be most impactful, most fulfilling for you and your family? And that is as, if not more important than the financial piece, in our opinion.
Yeah. Have that conversation, not just about how much money you need, but what are you going to do in retirement? And that's how it's going to be most successful.